All right, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. This is the moment you've been waiting for. You've been waiting to learn how to do substitution, and you have a homework assignment, and your teacher has lost his mind, and he's decided to do some of the homework here after school for the sole purpose of helping you learn. Okay, what I'm going to do, there's 16 problems here. I'm going to do the even problems, okay? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Let's start with number 2. You will need a straight, you'll need a straight edge if you want to write straight, you want to write clearly. I would recommend using a pencil. Now I'm going to use a pen so it shows up on this camera, but I would recommend a pencil in case you need to erase. All right, so we're going to start with number 2. We are going to use substitution. And the very first step in substitution is to make sure that we have at least one of our two equations solved for one of the variables. So in this case, in number 2, we already have both equations solved for y. So if y equals y and y equals negative 2x plus 2 and y equals 7x plus 11, then we can set negative 2x plus 2 equal to 7x plus 11 and solve for x. And that's what we're going to do. So I'll come up here and I'll do negative 2x plus 2. And I'll set that equal to 7x plus 11. Okay, at this point you should pause the video and try to do this yourself. All right, I'm going to show the solution, but go ahead and pause the video. Attempt to do it yourself if you want to use scratch paper. You need to learn this. You know, the point of me doing this is not to give you half the answers. It's to go through this a number of times, and I want you to do it though. I want you to do the work so you know, because on the test it'll all be on you. And then in your future math classes, I don't know if your teacher will make YouTube videos show you how to do it all. So I want you to learn. But let's proceed. We're going to solve for the x variable. And the easiest thing to do to avoid negatives would be to add 2x to both sides and solve for x on the right side of the equal sign. Okay, so plus 2x on both sides. That gets rid of these 2x's over here. This 2 comes down, and it's equal to 7x plus 2x, which is 9x. Bring down that plus 11. And now we'll subtract 11 from both sides. Okay. On the right side, the 11's cancel. And 2 minus 11 is negative 9. So negative 9 equals 9x. Bring down that 9x. Final step to get x by itself, divide both sides by 9. On the right side, the 9's cancel, leaving x by itself, and so x equals negative 9 divided by 9 is negative 1. So remember, your solution to your system will consist of a coordinate pair, look like that, with the x, comma, y. So we found half the answer. X is negative 1. Well, now that we know that x is negative 1, we can choose either of our two equations, and I'll choose the second equation here. This problem doesn't really make any difference, but sometimes one of the equations will obviously be easier than the other one. So because we know what x is, instead of writing y equals 7x plus 11, I'll write y equals 7, open parentheses, indicating multiplication, negative 1, because that's what x is, close parentheses, plus 11. Okay, so now I'll do y equals, and 7 times negative 1 is negative 7, negative 7 plus 11. Negative 7 plus 11. What that means is you're going to subtract 7 from 11, and you're going to get 4. Y equals 4. And now we know what both x and y are, so the solution is negative 1 comma 4. Okay? That's number 2. Number 4. Okay, y equals 2x, and 5x minus y equals 9. Well, we have to ask ourselves, did we do step 1? Did we get one of the equations solved for either x or y? And the answer is yes. You already have y by itself up here in the top equation, so you've checked off box 1. Now, you need to remember, y equals 2x. So down here in the second equation, I can substitute 2x in for that y. It's like I'm going to cut out the 2x and I'm going to paste it over where that y is. Watch what I mean. Watch what I mean here, okay? What I'm going to do is write 5x minus, and then I'm going to do an open parentheses, 2x, close parentheses. So instead of writing y, I wrote open parentheses, 2x, close parentheses. And now I'll write equals 9. Now this is, I've gotten it set up for you here, okay? So you should stop right now or pause the video and try to do this. Okay, so take a moment, pause the video, try to do this. Okay, and the this that I wanted you to try to do was to solve for x, so that's what I'll do now. So I'll have 5x. Okay, I'm basically multiplying negative 1 times 2x, so that's just negative 2x, equals 9. All right, so now we're in a combined like term situation. I have two like terms on the left side of the equal sign, 5x minus 2x. That would be 3x. So I'll write 3x equals 9. Final step, divide both sides by 3 to get x by itself. Cancel the 3's. X equals 9 divided by 3, which is just 3. X equals 3. Okay, so we've got half the answer now. I've got x equals 3. Okay, this is the x value, and I need to find the y value now. So look at the two equations. Which one looks easier to you? I hope you're saying the top equation, and that's the good intuition, because that's right, the top equation is the easier one. So we'll write y equals, and instead of writing 2x, I'm going to write 2, open parentheses, indicating multiplication, and then I'm going to plug in this x value here, 3, close parentheses. So all you have to do is 2 times 3, so y equals 6. So the answer is 3 comma 6. Okay, not too bad at all. All right, so that's number 4. Here comes number 6. Pause the video, try to set it up by yourself. Okay, now in this case, we do have one of our equations solved for one of our variables. It doesn't matter which one you solve for. So this one, it's already solved for x. X equals 3y. So now, instead of replacing the y with something like we did in 2 and 4, we're going to go into our second equation. All right, we're going to notice that x equals 3y. So I'm going to cut that 3y out and paste it wherever I see an x, like this. Let me write it over here. 2, open parentheses, and then we're just going to put in there that 3y, close parentheses, and now I'm just going to write the rest of this equation like it is, plus 4y equals 10. And notice now that we have an equation set up here with only y values. So we're going to be able to solve for y. Again, pause the video, try to do it on your own. Okay, 2 times 3y is 6y. 6y plus 4y equals 10. Combine like terms on the left. 6y plus 4y is 10y, and that equals 10. Final step, divide both sides by 10. Cancel the 10s on the left. You got the variable y by itself, and y equals 10 divided by 10, which is 1. Let's go back and we'll set up our template of our solution, x comma y. Guess what? I found the y value, so I plug in it here. I got y, and I just need to find x now. So look at the equations and tell me which one looks easier, which one looks shorter, simpler. It's the top one, right? It's the top one. So we have, this time I'm going to write it out. We have x equals 3y, all right? But we know what y is, right? We just found it. Y is 1. So I can write x, because I want to find out what x is now. That's all I'm missing. X is equal to 3, open parentheses, indicating multiplication, close parentheses, or 1, close parentheses. So now I have x equals 3 times 1. So final step, x equals 3. So your solution to your system is 3 comma 1. Okay, that's number 6. Moving on to number 8. In number 8, we notice that the bottom equation is already solved for x, so we're good to go with step 1. Check to make sure that you've got at least one equation solved for one of the variables. X is equal to this whole thing, negative 2y minus 21. So the thing that I recall when I was a student, when I was your age, when I was 14, I remember thinking, this is somehow harder mentally for me than the easier looking equations up here in 4 and 6. And to a certain extent, I totally agree with you. It looks like there's more to do, and there's more to do. But if you just follow the procedure, you won't get stuck. Remember, it doesn't matter how much stuff x is equal to. You're just going to take all of that, and you're going to put it inside parentheses instead of this x up here. So watch what I mean by that. I'm going to rewrite the first equation, but I'm going to replace x with all of this stuff right here, negative 2y minus 21. So we'll write 3, open parentheses, and then stick in, instead of x, we're going to stick in what x is equal to, negative 2y minus 21. Negative 2y minus 21. Close those parentheses out. And now write the rest of this problem. Minus 7y equals 41. Minus 7y equals 41. Okay, get that written out. And now, once again, pause the video, try to do it yourself. What you're going to need to do is distribute, multiply this 3 through this parenthetical expression right here. Okay, so let's do that. 3 times negative 2y is negative 6y. 3 times negative 21, what is that? 21 times 3? I guess we have to do that kind of over and side work. 21 times 3. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6. All right, so 3 times negative 21 is negative 63. Now just bring down this negative 7y, okay, and set that whole thing equal to 41. All right, now if you got stuck until this point, now pause the video, try to do it yourself. You're going to need to combine like terms on the left. Your two like terms are negative 6y and negative 7y. So you need to do negative 6y minus 7y. And that's hard for some students. They don't like work with negative numbers. Me neither. But you're taking negative 6, okay? You're starting with negative 6, and you're subtracting 7 from it. So it's going to get more negative. So negative 6y minus 7y is negative 13y. Okay, so this is negative 13y minus 63, okay, because we didn't do anything with the negative 63, it just comes down minus 63. And then equals 41. That didn't change. Okay. So now it's simpler, right? It's getting simpler and simpler. Now we need to, before we can do anything with this negative 13y, we got to get rid of this negative 63. So we'll add 63 to both sides. On the left, it just goes away. And we can bring down this negative 13y. Negative 13y equals. And now all we have to do is add 63 to 41. So 1 plus 3 is 4. And 4 plus 6 is 10. 104. To solve, we just have to divide both sides by negative 13. All right, now the negative 13's cancel on the left, and we have y equals. So y equals whatever 104 divided by negative 13 is. Now you might be thinking, brother, I have no idea. Man, I have no idea. Well, let me bring you in. Now assume for the moment that you can't use a calculator, okay? You can't use a calculator. I know that you could. So could I, right? Got one right here. But I'm not going to. I'm going to resist that temptation because to use it is to kind of miss out on a learning opportunity. Now, in some cases, and when you get ahead in life, go for it. Use a calculator. But for this time being, guys, meditate on this a little bit with me. Learn how to do this by hand. What we have to do, I'm going to use a little note card here. What we have to do is reduce this fraction, 104 over 13. And the fact that that negative sign was in the denominator is irrelevant. We can just put that negative sign out front like this and just not worry about it for now. We've got to reduce this fraction. So don't think about it like a division problem. Think about it like a fraction reduction problem. Now I'm going to bring in a friend of mine, okay? His name is prime factorization. This is something that everyone seems to hate, but if you'll start to get on the prime factor train, your life will become incredibly interesting. Now 104 needs to be factored down to prime numbers. It's hard to do, but we know this. We know that 104 is an even number, so we know that it's divisible by 2. All right? So we know that the smallest prime factor is 2. So what is 104 divided by 2? Can you think of it off the top of your head? All right, if 50 plus 50, or 50 times 2 is 100, how about 52 times 2? 52 times 2, 52 plus 52 would be 104. So we know that 2 times 52, all right, 2 times 52 is 104. 52 is an even number, so it can't be prime. So we're going to tree it down one more time. Maybe more than one time. Now 52 is even, so it's divisible by 2. Well, what times 2 equals 52? Well, let's see. 25 times 2 is 50. So how about 26 times 2? Okay, 2 times 26 is 52. So we'll put 26 there. All right. Now 26 is an even number, so it's not prime, so we'll break it down again. 26 breaks down, we got 2, because it's even. What times 2 equals 26? Well, do one that you know. All right. 12 times 2 is 24, and 14 times 2 is 28. So how about 13 times 2? Yeah, 13 plus 13, 26. So 2 times 13 is 26. Now let me show you why we did all this. These are now all prime numbers. We can rewrite the numerator like this. So this whole thing is going to be equal to negative. Okay, and I'm going to do a fraction bar like this. This is pretty cool, what I'm about to show you. Instead of writing 104, I'm going to write 2 times 2, okay, times 2 times 13. Because we know that that all multiplies together to be 104. And on the bottom, I'm going to write 13. Why did we do this? All right, 13 is a prime number. So look, I've got a 13 in the numerator and a 13 in the denominator. I can cancel those like this. Let me rewrite now. I now have my fraction to be negative 2 times 2 times 2 over 1. Okay, so what's 2 times 2 times 2? Well, 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. So 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So this reduces down to negative 8 over 1. And negative 8 over 1 is just negative 8. Okay? So this is the prime factorization way of doing division when you don't know right off the top of your head how to reduce the fraction. Okay? So I'm going to put all that side work aside, but you need to show that side work maybe on another sheet of paper or something. So y equals 104 divided by negative 13, which we already showed is negative 8. So y equals negative 8. We found half the answer. So if we have x comma y as the solution to our system, we found that y value to be negative 8. All we have to do now is plug it back in to one of our equations to solve for x. Now, which one would you choose, the top or the bottom? Because it would work in both, but one of them is easier than the other. Because one of them is already solved for the variable that we're looking for. We're looking for x. So here it says x equals negative 2y minus 21. Let's use that one, the bottom equation. So I'm going to write x equals negative 2, open parentheses. All right, and I'm going to stick this negative 8 in where that y was. Negative 8, close parentheses, and then bring down this minus 21. Minus 21. Okay, all I've done is substitute negative 8 for y in this bottom equation. And now I'm going to solve for x. X equals negative 2 times negative 8. Negative times a negative is a positive, so negative 2 times negative 8 is positive 16. Minus 21. So I have to subtract 21 from 16. Okay? So this is a math problem you have to do. If you don't know it off the top of your head, which I don't. So the way you would do this math problem is you would actually subtract 16 from 21 and just make the answer negative when you get it. Okay, so I can't take 6 from 1, so I have to borrow from the 2, turn the 2 into a 1, and the 1 into an 11. So 11 minus 6 is 5, and 1 minus 1 is 0, and I'm going to make this answer negative, remember? Because it's 16 minus 21. So x is equal to negative 5. All right, so now you found x. That's the other part. Negative 5, comma negative 8 is the whole thing. That's the solution to the system. All right, so you see, you're getting a little taste of what life was like without a calculator. This was definitely how I would have done this problem as a 14-year-old. But I can tell you, don't feel frustrated because I definitely would not have been able to do this problem as a 14-year-old on day 1 of learning how to do this. So I'm happy to offer the help because it's crazy to ask you to do this on day 1 of learning it. It's just kind of scary, right? It's a lot of writing. It's a lot of math. Okay, so get that written down, and we'll move on to number 10, which should be on the back of this page. Okay, number 10. Number 10, remember the first step to solving systems of equations with substitution is to get one of the equations solved for one of the variables. That's step one. It can be either x or y. All right. So we don't have that situation in either of our equations right now. See? In neither of the equations is x or y all by itself on one side of the equal sign. But I want you to use your intuition. Ask yourself, what would be easier? To solve the top equation for x, okay, or to solve the bottom equation for either x or y? And I hope your intuition, this is something I can't teach you, but practice and thinking will, and just trying to strive to do as little work as possible will help you build this. The top equation is going to be the easiest one to get one of the variables all by itself. So what we're going to do is solve the top equation for x before we do anything else. So we're not doing substitution yet. We're straight up doing algebra. We're solving the top equation for x. So I'm going to write the whole thing out here. X minus 2y equals 3. All right? So this is an extra step that we didn't have to do up until now. First, we have to solve this equation for x. So what do we need to do? It's a one-step process. We just plus 2y on both sides. Okay? On the left, the two y's cancel out, and I have now x equals. Now remember, you can't mix this 3. It cannot be mixed at all with this 2y. These are horses of a different color. All right, apples and oranges. So basically, you're just going to write x equals 2y plus 3. Otherwise, you'd be mixing them somehow, and you can't mix them. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we have one of our equations entirely solved for one variable. Okay? X now equals 2y plus 3. And the way that we're going to show this is we are going to rewrite this top equation. We're going to rewrite this guy like this. And I want to show you what I want. Here's what I want you to do. Do this for both of them. Instead of writing x minus 2y equals 3, over here after this arrow, I want you to write this. Okay? Because these are equivalent expressions. X minus 2y equals 3 is the same thing as x equals 2y plus 3. All right, we just proved that. So go up here and write x equals 2y plus 3. And then we're not going to do a darn thing to the second equation, so just rewrite it. 4x minus 8y equals 12. So now this is the system we're going to work with. So now, just if you can, take a mental break, reset, and say, now I'm going to act like none of this happened, and I'm just going to deal with this system right here. It's the same system that we started with, but now we've got that step one complete where x is all by itself. So now I know that x equals 2y plus 3. Okay? So what I'm going to do is go into my second equation and find an x. There it is. And I'm going to stick in, for that x, substitute. Okay? Plug in 2y plus 3 instead of putting that x there. So I'm going to write 4, open parentheses, 2y plus 3, close parentheses, minus 8y equals 12. I'm going to write all of that out right now. 4, open parentheses, 2y plus 3, close parentheses, minus 8y equals 12. Okay, now from here, I would like you to pause the video and try to do this. You're going to distribute the 4 through that parentheses, and then you're going to combine like terms on the left, And then you're going to have to either add or subtract out a whole number on both sides, and then you're going to divide by the coefficient of y to get y by itself. Now, I believe you can do this. You can take this problem and run with it from here. So pause the video, try to do the whole thing by yourself. Okay? All right. So I'm going to assume that you tried. We'll see if you did it right. Let's first distribute. 4 times 2y is 8y. Okay? Plus 4 times 3, because look what I'm doing. I'm distribute multiplying through the parentheses. 4 times 3 is 12. Bring negative 8y down. Okay? And the whole thing still equals 12. Now, remember what I said? Combine like terms. 8y minus 8y. What is that? What is anything minus itself? All right? What's 1 minus 1? Okay? 0. So if 1 minus 1 is 0, 8y minus 8y is 0. All right? So basically, these cancel each other out. Okay? And all you're left with is 12 equals 12. Well, this is vexing. All right? This is concerning. This is weird. Here's the question. Here's the question you have to ask. Is this true? Is this true? Is 12 equal to 12? All right? Remember, take yes for an answer. Yes, it is. Yes, it's true. So 12 equals 12. That means that there are infinite solutions. And if you don't want to write out infinite solutions, you can write out the symbol for infinity. All right? So that's the answer to number 10. If you were looking at these two equations graphed, all right, what they would do is they would graph right over each other. All right, so they'd be touching everywhere. So that's number 10. Number 12. Okay, well, I wanted to say one more thing about number 10. The way that we knew that it was infinite is that 12 did in fact equal 12. Remember in the previous homework when we got one where you ended up with like 1 equals 0 and it wasn't a true statement? 1 doesn't equal 0. Well, that's when you wrote no solution. So when the statement 12, if this is true, then it's infinite. If it's not true, then there are 0 solutions. That means the lines are parallel, right? But in this case, it's infinite because 12 does equal 12. So, okay, speak of the devil, we're moving on to number 12. So in number 12, we're presented with the same problem we were presented with in number 10. Neither equation is solved for a single variable. Now I want you to tell me, top or bottom, which one's going to be easier to solve for x or y? All right? Well, it's going to be the bottom equation, right? Because x is already by itself. So let's keep it easy. Keep it simple. So I'm going to rewrite this out. X plus 6y equals 18. All I have to do is solve for x. And that's just a one-step procedure. Subtract 6y from both sides. Okay? On the left, the 6y's cancel each other. And we have x equals. And remember, 18 is an apple and negative 6y is an orange. So you can't mix them. All right? So we're just going to bring down, put this negative 6y here, and then plus 18, like this. So now I've solved it. I've solved it for x. Let's go over here and rewrite our system. So we're working with a fresh slate, clean slate. We didn't touch the top equation, did we? So let's just rewrite it exactly as it appears. 2x minus 3y equals negative 24. 2x minus 3y equals negative 24. And now we've got the new form of our equation. Okay, remember, this is exactly the same thing as this. They're identical, right? We've moved the furniture around, all right? Otherwise, they're the same. So we're just going to write this version right here. So instead of x plus 6y equals 18, we're going to write x equals negative 6y plus 18. X equals negative 6y plus 18. All right? Now, at this point, you can forget about all that work you just did. All right? What you're going to do is look and see, do I now have one of my equations solved for one of the variables? Yes, I do. The bottom equation solved for x. So x is equal to negative 6y plus 18. What you're going to do is take this negative 6y plus 18. You're going to say it real fast so it sounds like a single unit. Negative 6y plus 18. You're going to clip that out and stuff it in there, right there, next to that 2. You're going to shove it in there. Okay, that's substitution. So I'm going to rewrite this top equation down here, but I'm going to replace the x with all this stuff right here. So I'm going to write 2, open parentheses, negative 6y plus 18, negative 6y plus 18, close parentheses, minus 3y. You're just going to continue writing the equation, equals negative 24. Okay? So now you can pause the video and try to do it yourself. I think you can do it. I think you can do it. Okay, first thing we're going to do is distribute multiply this 2 through this parenthetical expression. So 2 times negative 6y is negative 12y. And 2 times 18 is 36, so plus 36. Bring down that minus 3y. Minus 3y equals, we didn't touch the right side, so it's just the same. Bring it down, negative 24. Okay, now if you couldn't do the previous step, try to do it from here. Combine like terms on the left side. You have negative 12y and negative 3y. They can be combined. So what is negative 12y minus 3y? You're going to have to subtract a negative from a negative, making it a greater negative number. So negative 12 minus 3 is negative 15. So it's negative 15y. So what we're going to do is write negative 15y plus 36. Okay, see that plus 36? Don't forget about him. Bring down the equal sign and bring down that negative 24. Now again, if you weren't on the bandwagon until now, try to do it from here. Take it from here. What do I need to do next? I'm trying to get y by itself. So I've got to get rid of this 36. Subtract 36 from both sides. Well, on the left side, 36 minus 36 cancels. I can bring down my negative 15y. He can come sit here. Negative 15y equals. And now what I've got to do is subtract 36 from negative 24. It's not that hard. Forget about that. Just put a negative sign down here and just add the two numbers. Okay, so 4 plus 6, that's 10. Carry the 1. 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 1 is 6. So my answer, negative 24 minus 36, is negative 60. One final step. Divide both sides by negative 15. Okay? Cancel out the negative 15s. And y equals negative 60 divided by 15. Back in the old days, we used to do clock math. So we knew our 15s. All right? See a watch? The watch is broken. But the watch has 60 minutes in it, right? If you cut it into 4 pie slices, each pie slice is worth 15. So if I divide 60 by 15, it's 4. See what I'm saying? Look. Watch this for a second. All right. Watch the clock. 15 minutes is going to pass. All right. There. That's 1/4 of an hour. Now 30 minutes has passed. We're at 2/4 of an hour. 45 minutes has passed. 3/4 of an hour. And there, a whole hour passed. 4/4. So 60 divided by 15 is 4. Negative 60 divided by negative 15. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. So negative 60 divided by negative 15 is positive 4. So we have half of our answer. Remember, x comma y. I've got y. Y is 4. Okay, so he's going to go in there. Now I've got to find out what x is. We already have one of our equations solved for x. We did it right here. You see that? You see that? So what we're going to do is use this equation and plug in 4 for y and solve for x. So x equals negative 6, open parentheses, 4, close parentheses, plus 18. Well, what is that? X equals negative 6 times 4 is negative 24 plus 18. So what's negative 24 plus 18? Well, this is the very same question as asking, what is 24 minus 18? And whatever I get as an answer, I'm going to put a negative sign in front of it. So let's do that here. 24 minus 18. All right, have to borrow. Turn that into 14. Oops, meant to turn that into a 1. Turn that into a 14. 14 minus 8 is 6. 1 minus 1 is 0. So negative 24 plus 18 is negative 6. X equals negative 6. All right, so that's the other part, negative 6. If you were to graph these two equations, they would cross at negative 6 comma 4. Number 14. All right. Once again, you got to ask yourself the question, do I have one of the equations already solved for one of the variables? And the answer is unfortunately, no, you don't. So we have to pick the easy one, and it's the top one. We're going to solve it for x. X plus 2y equals negative 2. Okay? I have to do one step to get x by itself, and that step is subtract 2y from both sides. On the left side, those 2y's cancel, and I can bring down this x and set him equal to, remember, don't mix apples and oranges. You just put negative 2y minus 2. That is what x equals, okay? So we're going to rewrite our system here. I changed the top equation into a different form. So this is equal to this. So I'm just going to rewrite it, okay? I'm going to write this up here. X equals negative 2y minus 2. And then I'll just rewrite this bottom equation exactly as it appeared. 3x plus 4y equals 6. Cover it up, all that work you did, and this is what you're working with now. So you have one of your equations solved for a variable, x. So what we can do is clip out what x equals and stuff it in right here by this 3. So x equals negative 2y plus 2. I'm going to rewrite the bottom equation as 3, open parentheses, negative 2y minus 2, close parentheses, plus 4y equals 6. So 3, open parentheses, and now instead of writing x, I'm going to write that, negative 2y minus 2. Okay, negative 2y minus 2, close those parentheses, plus 4y equals 6. All right, try to solve from here. I bet you could do it. So let's distribute this 3. 3 times negative 2y is negative 6y. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Bring down the plus 4y equals 6. Now, combine like terms on the left side. Negative 6y plus 4y is negative 2y. So we can write negative 2y minus 6 equals 6. 2 steps from being done. First, I'm going to add 6 to both sides. These cancel. And I can bring down this negative 2y equals 6 plus 6 is 12. Okay. Divide both sides by negative 2. The negative 2's cancel on the left. And I have y equals 12 divided by negative 2, which is negative 6. So if I'm looking at my system, my solution, which will consist of an x and a y coordinate, I've got the y coordinate, it's negative 6. Now all I've got to do is go plug that y back into one of my equations, and I'm done. And this is the easy one to use, all right, because we want to find out what x is. We're just missing x. Well, here, x equals negative 2y minus 2. We know what y is, so I'm going to shove that negative 6 in where that y is, like this. X equals negative 2, open parentheses, negative 6, close parentheses, minus 2. Okay, so x equals negative 2 times negative 6 is positive 12, minus 2. Okay, just bring this minus 2 down. So x equals 12 minus 2, 10. X equals 10. Put that here. You're done with this one. Now on to number 16. All right, this is the final problem that I'll be working. And let's see what we've got to do. We have to figure out which one of these variables we want to solve for, because honestly, it'd be pretty easy to solve for either one. I feel like this entire time we've been getting x by itself, so I'm going to use the top equation and I'm going to get y by itself, just to change it up, right? So let's take the top equation and write x minus y equals negative 10. And look, you don't have to do this. You could have solved for x and proceed that way, but I'm going to solve for y. So I'm going to subtract x on both sides. All right, on the left they're gone. Now I have negative y equals negative x minus 10. Okay, to get rid of this negative sign in front of the y, you could either multiply everything by -1, divide everything by -1, or, easy route, just change all the signs, because that would be the effect of multiplying or dividing everything by -1. So I'm just going to go change every sign. I'm going to make this -y positive y equals, change this negative x to a positive x, and change this -10 to a positive 10. Okay, so now I've solved y equals x plus 10. This equation up here, x minus y equals -10, is the same equation as this one right here. I've just written it in a different way. So we're going to rewrite our equations. I'm going to write this version of the equation up here, y equals x plus 10. And then I'm going to rewrite this second equation unchanged. 2x plus 4y equals 22. Okay, so now, step 1. Do I have one of my equations solved for one of my variables? Yes, I do. We can cover up all this and just focus in on this rewritten system. So I already have one of the equations solved for y. So what y equals x plus 10. I can take this x plus 10 and shove it in here next to that 4, replace the y right here with x plus 10, and solve it out and solve for x. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write 2x plus 4, open parentheses, and now I'm going to put in here this x plus 10 in this parentheses. X plus 10, close parentheses, equals 22. All right, now I bet you could pause and solve from here. I'm going to write 2x, and now I have to distribute the 4. Okay, 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 10 is 40. So plus 40 equals 22. All right, now combine like terms. Here are your like terms, 2x and 4x. 2x plus 4x, that's 6x plus 40 equals 22. Now I subtract 40 from both sides. Okay. On the left side, the 40s are gone. Bring down the 6x. 6x equals whatever 22 minus 40 is. All right. That's the same thing as 40 minus 22, but I'll just put a negative sign in front of the answer. All right. So I have to borrow from the 4, turn it to a 3, make the 0 a 10. Take 2 from 10, that's 8. And 2 from 3 is 1. Put a negative sign in front of it. So 22 minus 40 is negative 18. Final step, divide both sides by 6. Cancel, cancel. X equals negative 18 divided by 6, and that's negative 3. So x is negative 3. So I have part of my solution. All right? I have the x value this time. Next, x is negative 3. So negative 3 there. Now I've got to go find y. Well, luckily, I solved one of my equations for y, right here. So I just have to go plug this in. All right? So I'll write y equals, and instead of writing x plus 10, I'll write negative 3 plus 10. Okay? Y equals negative 3 plus 10. So y equals whatever negative 3 plus 10 is. That's the same thing as 10 minus 3. So that means y equals 7. Right? So if you were to graph these, they would cross at negative 3, 7 on a coordinate plane. There it is. All right, in 55 minutes, we've done 8 problems. I hope this was helpful to you guys. You know, you have half the questions answered for you now. So tomorrow, I shouldn't see anything less than a 50, right? At the very minimum, you can get the ones that I've sat here and showed you. Now, here's the ask that I'm gonna give you now. If you watch this video and you gained something from it, like you gained an understanding in how to do this, if you watch this video and you got the answers to half the questions for your homework, thus saving your grade, all right? Or some combination of, yes, I learned how to do something that I didn't know how to do before, you made it easier, more understandable, and I got answers that I needed, then please leave a comment indicating that this was helpful to you, okay? Or ask a question if you have a question. Leaving comments is very helpful to the YouTube algorithm, right? It will boost this page in the search results, helping other students. Also, please like the video. Take the time to hit that thumbs up. That is another big signal that this was a good help, all right? Makes me feel good about taking an hour of my time after work to do this. Finally, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Just because you're on my remind doesn't mean you're going to be getting the message that this video is released. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you're always alerted to new videos when I release them on this channel. And guys, thank you so much for your time and attention. I know you have other things that you need to do tonight, and I'm sorry that I've had to impose some time on you to do this math homework, but I promise this will help you get better at critical thinking and get better at math. So appreciate your time. Thank you for what you do.